Hello guys, thanks for hanging out with me today. In this video, we're essentially making the Pancake family a new home and a little bit of a new lifestyle. Originally, it wasn't meant for them. I pulled up a reference on Pinterest and found myself inspired by the style. I suppose it's contemporary, but I'm not exactly sure how to describe it. Just that it looks a lot like gentrification in the Willow Creek community that I built it in. Just because it has this hyper modern look to it, while the other homes are more traditional southern style beside it. It strikes me as a new build, as most older homes, in the US specifically. I have very little architectural knowledge and it's US centric, so I don't actually know what I'm talking about most of the time. But yeah, old homes aren't typically built like this. But it's a video game, so I'm not exactly concerned with the implications of that. I am really satisfied with this build, even though it's one of the many with the UI cut off a little bit that I referenced in my last video, which was some time ago now. I'm recording this voiceover well after I actually built this lot. I've since bought cottage living for full price, something I never do and I'm kind of regretting. And after that, I caved and bought Dream Home Decorator when it went on sale, which might have been useful for this build, but there's no way I'm revisiting it. Just for additional context, I promised myself no more Sims packs, especially not at full price. Every pack I own I either got during sales or they were gifted to me, apart from, I think, two stuff packs, Tiny Living being one of them. I can't think off the top of my head what the other might be. But anyway, since I typically delete townies, I wasn't thinking about the Pancake family here. But once I related this home back to them, it was actually a lot of fun. It's a minimalistic style, which is something that seems like the opposite of what would work for them. But that's exactly why I keep them here. In canon, they're not very happy in their marriage, right? But the newer version of them on a gallery shows them with a toddler. And me being a family gameplay simmer, and someone a little averse to playing dysfunctional families unless they're set up as some tragic background for my played household, I imagine a world where they're working on their marriage through compromise and therapy. Also, they're kind of hipster in this iteration of their story, which I think is a lot more suitable than Eliza's I yell at strangers in grocery stores look. But yeah, just imagine they've loosely adapted to this minimalistic lifestyle as a compromise to their issues. Keyword being loosely, because I don't know much about it except what it is on a surface level. But in canon, their traits conflict, and in the original home, the interior looks really vintage and expensive, which I suspect is due to Eliza since she's materialistic. She's also neat while Bob is a slob. And the minimalism movement is about abandoning your material things. And owning less things would make less mess. So subscribing to that ideation could be complementary for them. And on top of that, homes like this traditionally have seamless built-in storages. I add a lot of storage to this home. So imagine this was designed with cabinets built in as a way to enforce Bob to put away his belongings and keep them organized and out of sight. Now, if you do move them in here and have them play out that storyline, of course it can't actually be accomplished, unless you manually control him to pick up his laundry every single time or just flat out change his traits. But I think it makes for a good story. And yeah, here I am just trying to make the front lawn work. The photo reference had a concrete walkway. It might have made more sense to have a well manicured garden here, but I am really into the overgrown style, so I added some messy grass instead. The pancakes seem to be doing well for themselves in canon, so I keep that in mind here. Like perhaps they built the structure and customized it to their liking. In this version of their life, they're running a restaurant downtown. Eliza might be in charge of the management while Bob is the chef, and they've gained a bit of local celebrity from it. You know, the type of restaurant that gets featured in a travel website or a news segment as the place you need to visit whenever you travel to this small town. I imagine that's why Bob has posters and bobbleheads, but I don't think having a restaurant gets you that level of fame status if it's just a local thing. So maybe they got featured in a movie and now it attracts outside tourists as some place to take photos. Or maybe Bob himself had a cameo in a movie. Who knows? There are stories like that. I lived in a town where a local shop gained a bit of nationwide attention. And when you hear someone you know or a friend of a friend of a friend is an extra in a movie, it's kind of a huge deal, even if it's just 5 seconds. So maybe he's become some local deity figure because that's mostly unheard of from a small town. To see Hollywood, or rather, what is it called? Del Sol Valley. Yeah, to see that city, or let alone have your establishment featured in a blockbuster movie. Everyone loves Bob pancakes in this town, is where I'm getting at. I try to give him a chef's kitchen. I don't show the initial design of it because I eventually redo it. I never placed double stoves, and I never understood why homes on a gallery had them. Maybe it looked expensive or something, or it's for the slots to make it even. But I figured it made sense in this home, so I do include that for once. In the beginning, you would have seen that I was trying to place a high chair at the island with toys on it. I like the imagery of the toddler sitting there having to keep himself busy while Bob is cooking. It's a touch of realism that I like to add to my homes. I settle for a toy corner, and I think I eventually add the high chair back because I love that look. I specifically remember only playing with base game in CC a while back. And one of the first homes I ever decorated was a modern build for a single mom with a toddler who lived in Oasis Springs. She had this chef aspiration, and I set up this spot for her kid, and it's one of the interiors I'm most proud of. But I'm not a hoarder, or I am in some cases, but mostly out of laziness. And I am also perpetually starting over and removing myself from things, so I don't have photo references of that build. This back room I tried to make the laundry room slash storage. I add a yoga mat since Eliza seems to be into fitness. I figure the wellness skill lumps into that. I do, however, change the look of this to look more uniform and have things tucked away, as I mentioned earlier. And the upstairs came together neatly, and I might have forgotten to put a toilet in a bathroom and didn't realize it for way too long. You'll see I place the bathroom items down because it's always the first room I do. I try to make sure I have enough space so that the room functions. I randomly select the plumbing just to see how it would all fit, and then I go back and pick out more aesthetically pleasing ones that make sense for the home. So basically, I forgot that I was doing that in this home and went straight into decorating, committed to the placements with the appropriate colors, and never realized the toilet was missing. Not until the screenshots. So I had to restructure the room a little bit. Not this bathroom. I didn't realize I left this footage in. This bathroom was an afterthought as well because I want them to have more space so that they're not getting on each other's nerves. They already have enough issues as it is, and bathroom time is one of those sacred things you don't want someone to get in the way of. Here's the double stoves that I also talked about. Kitchens usually drive me insane. I never feel as if I do them proper justice. I sort of put a lot on myself because they are my favorite rooms to do. So when it doesn't look to my liking, I feel like it throws the entire house off. So there have been plenty of times where I hold it off until dead last so I don't sabotage myself by becoming fed up and disinterested. I really love the simplistic color scheme I go for, but obviously I was trying to do pops of color, though I do opt for keeping it as minimum as possible because it defies the sleek elegance I envisioned for their new lifestyle. I end up making the house darker than this. And yeah, I try to I try my best to incorporate plenty of Bob Pancake references within a lot, without trying to overdo it. I don't want it to come across like a self congratulatory shrine of narcissism. It would have to be Eliza who's putting them up, a mix of proudness with the need to show off to her friends. I think Bob's a lot more introverted than that. He wouldn't want the attention. I know I haven't talked about the living room at all. Despite being so simple, I really enjoyed making it. It looks sleek. I wish now that those paintings had frames rather than looking like posters. Current me would have probably tried to resize paintings behind them so that they would look like framed art. I did that in one of my recent builds, where I sized down a gilded frame to be behind one of the newspaper clippings, so that it would look like the celebrity in the home framed her accomplishments. Anyway, one of my favorite things to include are those walk in closets and hallways. It's a staple in most of my builds. So, whenever I do a layout, I try to make it certain that I have space for that, or at least some bit of storage. I know it's redundant for a game, the whole storage thing that's preached in every HGTV show, but it's been beaten into my head from years and years of consumption of those shows, even though I'm long detached from them now. But I have always included it in my builds because it's one of the more critical things a homeowner is looking for, according to the experts. But this is a main bathroom where I forgot to include a toilet. I thought about giving them an ensuite, but I figured two bathrooms was enough for such a small family. I do add a freestanding shower downstairs off screen because real me projected through Eliza, wanting to shower, but someone else is occupying the lone bathroom. It's way too amusing to me that I forgot a grown up toilet but added a potty. Like, imagine if I had just left it there like that and never noticed. I jump around in my builds as well if you haven't already noticed, or if I haven't mentioned it. I can't remember. If I had a better editing software, I'd make it look more cohesive, but maybe I wouldn't. It's much less time consuming to edit the footage in a linear fashion. But yeah, it might be annoying to some, I'm not sure. Anyway, I think the kitchen is really pretty, if I'm allowed to say so about my own creation. Problem is, they annoyingly clean up the cutting board and the wine glass, which I placed to make it seem as if the kitchen had just been in use. So I have to fight with them to get screenshots, or they'll just run back in to throw out the trash or complain about the smells. Knowing me, I probably gave up and you don't get to see this at all in the screenshots. So I'm happy to have this footage here at least. I really like this main bedroom. It's huge and I usually detest that, but the abundance of storage really closes it up a bit. It's for show rather than purpose, of course. I don't opt for much clutter, but I try to make it obvious which side is hers versus which is his. Bob has some of his collector's editions of those bobbleheads. I felt like I had to be really practical about the clutter I included since this is supposed to be minimalist. They have to pertain to them personally in some kind of way, or else they probably would have purged them, right? Isn't that what the whole lifestyle is about? Keeping the items that speak to you or something? I've included an office that I mostly envision Eliza using. The kitchen is mostly Bob's office in my mind. It's where his expertise is, at least. I'm mentioning this because there's only about a snippet of it left in this video. I guess the footage was too boring to keep. I'm not sure. Here I am once again making sure there's storage as seamlessly built in as possible. I've got a problem. It makes sense for this build, but in my other builds it's just as prevalent. I like shelves, and I like to imagine the family has a lot of drawers and available in closet space to store things. I don't know what's wrong with me. Regardless, this is one of my favorite bedrooms as of late. It's way too mature for a toddler. That's why it was especially important to me to have his toys downstairs. I find it depressing in real life, and here I am once again applying real life expectations to a video game. But it's a little disheartening when you know someone has kids, but their house has zero presence of them. Of course, they could just be clean, organized parents, but you know what? It's not important to dive deeper into that. The backyard I had conflicted ideas for. I wasn't sure what to do with it initially, but then I decided Eliza has friends over a lot that she entertains, so I should include a backyard eating area because Bob tries his hardest to be involved despite being more introverted. I feel like this is his station. It's the only way he ingratiates himself into the social scene that Eliza is really interested in. And like I said, this new version of them that I've imagined is all about compromise. So they found new ways to make their life work together. They make the effort to appease each other's interests, and I think that's sweet. And yet, it's a bit of an abrupt ending from here. I can't remember if this is the one where footage got corrupted, where I just found it so useless to include what was left of it. I can't remember since it's been some time. Hopefully, the screenshots do the rest justice. And yeah, I hope it was enjoyable in some capacity. Stay safe, guys. Happy simming.